Okay, and welcome to another episode of I'm a Black Woman. Yes, I Matter. I'm your host, Kumara Thompson. I'm so excited for this particular edition because this is about your network, being your net worth, and how you can activate. So you got all of these connections, but unless you activate them, your network doesn't mean much when it comes to the net worth aspect of things. Okay, so I am so excited to have two women who I consider my friends in this space, in this entrepreneurial world, Gasline Dessources and Latoya Bird. Thank you both so much for being here.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much.
Awesome. So let's just get right into it. I really want to talk a lot about how it's important to activate, to cultivate relationships and partnerships. I know you both have a long and storied history when it comes to building your relationship. Can you talk a little bit about how you got started and how you continue to build and deepen that networking connection?
Gasline, do you want to get started or you want me to
Go ahead. Go ahead.
okay, so to speak to networking, at the time this was about 5 to 6 years ago, maybe. It was a while ago. And I just so happened to make sure that I connected with someone that I consider the glue in a community. And speaking of networking, when you're networking, you want to network with the people who you know are connecting the dots and doing something huge and making a huge impact. And so her name is Miss Marlene Lee. And I could not wait to get to her because I wanted to feature her in the magazine. And at the office, when I went to go visit Miss Lee, Gasoline was there. Ironically, I don't remember all that was going on. And Gasoline, I recently ran into her again about 4 months, 3, 4 months ago. And she was like, I remember you. You came to Mrs. Lee's office and, you had your magazine and you were trying to do this, you were doing that. And networking was imperative at that time. Like it was absolutely vital that I networked in the community because the magazine was called Good News Schools, creating and celebrating good news in our community. And in order to celebrate and create good news, you had to go and get it. It was not going to fall in your lap. And so I understood that networking had to be strategic, it had to be consistent, and I had to recognize the players in my community. And in the process of doing that, I found that the Ghouls Resource Center, you know, hosted by Nana, it was a hub in the community. So it was so much networking going on there. And sometimes when you're in and out and you're focused on what you're doing, you may not pick your head up, so to speak, to see who else may be gravitating towards you or who else may want to network with you. And so round two, when I'm visiting Miss Lee's office again, 5 to 6 years later, I run into Gasline and she reminds me that we met previously. And I'm there doing the same exact thing, trying to let our community know, hey, have you started using AI? You know, and that's literally what was going on. And didn't know that, she had connections with Mr. Parson, who is my manager here at MiamiDade Economic Advocacy Trust. And all these dots are just merging and connecting. And uh, the the person who I have to mention as well, Mr. Lance Williams, the late Lance Williams, he actually introduced me to Mr. Robert Parson and our chair, Mr. Hannibal Burton. So networking in the community is so huge and so big. And I feel like this time around, myself and Gasline have some serious building to do on the networking scene. So I'm happy to have ran into her again. That's kind of like how we, blossomed in this particular season.
I love that. And of course, I see Gasoline everywhere. Gasoline, you and I have just recently met. It feels like I've known you for a long time, but it's something about always showing up and being in the right spaces and being such an advocate and supporter. And that's one of the things that I really love about you, Gasoline. You are really out here rooting for entrepreneurs, rooting for those of us who are out here hustling, who are trying to do positive impact in the community. We see you, we hear you. So I would love to hear a little bit more about what drives you in that work.
What drives me in that work, I remember back in 2015, you know how we stay stagnant somewhere and you know your time is up and God gives you that vision, like it's time to move on and venture off. So I started working in the flea market back in like 2020, I want to say, or 99, something like that, through a lady who asked me to come work for her. That didn't work out that well. So I moved on. I'm going to say, let's fast forward. So I started working with someone in 2008. And by 2014, late 2014, I knew my time was up there. And in the process, because I didn't move when God told me to move, he had her to tell me on February 2015, today's your last day. So I wound up getting a space in the same location. I already knew where I wanted to go. And the manager says, finally, about time. At that point, I started having to do research because I wanted to learn, since now I'm a business owner, what am I going to do to move and pivot and get to the next level? Well, the journey didn't really start that fast, but I started doing research, having sleepless nights, trying to go on YouTube, and not everybody's going to answer your question. Never did any networking events. So by, I want to say 2016, I remember my hair started shedding. So I started creating handmade wigs, in which I wanted to learn more because now I get a diverse of women saying, when are you going to start making wigs for me? You know? And so 2019, on a search, as I was doing researching business, I found a wig maker. And I wound up taking like 2 or 3 different classes. And I never forget a client tells me, I'm going to be your first client. Now she owns 6 wigs of mine. But anyway, back to the story. So I'm always encouraging people, giving advices. And this young lady says to me, you know what? You always giving me encouraging. I don't know if your day is good or bad because you never show it. You still try to speak positivity into others. I want to introduce you to somebody. As Latoya Bird mentioned, Miss Marlene Lee. And when I met Miss Marlene, she decided to invite me into this networking space, which people don't believe I can be shy, but it's like timid because you're in a large room. How do you approach people? How do you start a conversation? So I would go and become a vendor. I'm not even registered or anything yet, but I remember grabbing these same wigs that I hand stitched for myself and displayed them. Had customers come that I was already doing their hair to be my models at the event. And she goes, what are you doing back here? No, I want you in the front. So at the time, I was connected to Mr. Danilo. I was connected to Mr. Matthew, but I never approached these people. I didn't know how to start a conversation. So when COVID happened in 2020, after taking these wig classes and stuff, my eager to learn became like a lion. It was on a roar. It was ready to like learn and emerge. Like, so I started being on Zoom, and remember, we're closed. So I had ample time to learn more. So I was on Zooms from my phone, my laptop, tablets. I ordered tripods so they can record. I'm on one Zoom, there's another Zoom going on, taking notes. I started learning, and the more I learned, the more I wanted to know. And so after, I remember receiving emails from Mr. Danilo for Strive 305, never opened them. MiamiDade Chamber, never opened them, but now I have time. So I started opening these emails, and oh my gosh, it was mind blowing. I started going on their Zooms every day. It was amazing, the plethora of knowledge that you learn from these different organizations, and resources was always there. But when you don't know what you don't know, you just don't know. But I'm online doing my researches. So eventually I started connecting the dots. I went from the Miami-Dade Chamber with Mr. Danilo. They started sending emails. Now I'm checking all my emails. I'm not missing nothing. So when we opened back up, oh my gosh, it was amazing. I started going to every event. And they was like, you're going to all these events. What is it doing for you? It's doing a lot, because as I'm learning, I'm able to teach and guide somebody else. Not only that, it's inspiring. And guess what? I'm gonna be in a room like the Cheers theme song. I want to go where everybody knows I came and they're always glad, that song. So that's what it became. My sister started listening to my Zooms. I was like, girl, you need to get your own Zoom so you could, chime in and stuff of that nature. Eventually she started doing the same thing. And so that's how it transpired. And like Latoya said, recently we reconnected, and I had to remind her, because I'm looking at her, and some people, they have that presence that you never forget. They leave in the room. And although we didn't connect then, because again, that so-called I'm shy, people don't believe I can be. Um, I said, you know what? You asked me for my information to put in the magazine. And she was like, oh my gosh. And I said, what are you doing now? You need to start back. And then she mentioned about her Prompt Me Nicely, which is the AI intelligence that she's teaching, which was, oh my gosh, mind blowing because I didn't even know how to use it. She gave me, some steps on what I need to do. And it's been very good and useful, even though I don't use it as I should. And so I remember that same day we reconnected, there was an event going on with the MiamiDade Chamber South that I invited her to. Some people would say, yeah, I'm going to come, I'm going to show up. She was there. So she made her own connections with other people. And that's what it is about the community. If we all can sit there and connect the dots with one another and share resources, there's enough food for everybody to eat. Why are we, holding back? And it's in the Bible. If you share the resources, God will bless you with more. So sow the seed so you could be a blessing to somebody else. So your crops and stuff can start growing as well, and that's what it is for me. And it's just that drive, that momentum. And then the PPP, I didn't get qualified for nothing. I've been in business. I got proof of this, proof of that. Couldn't qualify. So I wasn't giving up. And they wonder, why are you in every room? Knowledge. There's knowledge in every room. And you got to put yourself out there.
Yeah, and I want to talk a little bit about like some gaps that you saw and what you did in relation to those gaps. But before we go there, I realize that maybe our audience needs a little bit more context. So if you could talk a little bit about what your actual business is, what it is that you do as an entrepreneur, and then Latoya, you do the same thing. What do you do within the context of the Miami ecosystem?
Okay, so like I said, I started my venture, Lavish Touches Hair, in 2015, which is under my sister's name. There's a backstory to that, but we're not going into details. And then in 2021, I decided to finally launch Threaded by Lavish Wigs, which is what I'm wearing now, my nice little unit, custom-made units for busy working women who suffers from hair loss, alopecia, thyroid, or just lack time. They just want to be able to um, find something to get up and go. On-the-go wigs, drawstring ponytails, clip-in, anything of that nature to get them going. And I'm located inside of the Chair Barbershop in Cutler Bay, Florida, or Miami, Florida.
Great, thank you. Latoya?
All right. So I am 3 months in working here at MiamiDade Economic Advocacy Trust. And this is a direct result of networking. I mentioned the late Lance Williams, a dear friend of mine, community activist, former educator, was hosting an event and thought it not robbery to introduce me to certain key people. And from the networking at that event, I had the opportunity to hear about an opening here at MD. And, I applied the first time. They said they didn't get my application. I'm like, what's going on? And in that moment, I really did need a new opportunity because I didn't like where I was at. And I said, you know what? I'm going to try again. Called Mr. Robert. And he said, you know what? I'm actually doing interviews today. And I said, how are you doing interviews? And I'm not there. Like, what's the problem? And, but what's for you is for you. That's a promise. And I'll say that in 2017, I took a picture in front of an MD step and repeat at Sweet Home Baptist Church. They were hosting their Black Business Expo down south. And that's huge because a lot of businesses down south, we get to watch from the sideline what happens in the north. However, because of certain, elements, COVID, South Day connections, Gasline, these different networking components that contribute to things leading to one thing after the other, right? And I started to see that. So anyway, to give you the backstory, MD was in the mix for me from before, and I didn't even pay attention to it until I'm strolling through, old social media posts, and I'm like, wait a minute, I have a wait, what's going on? And not only that, when Mr. Bill Diggs became the executive director, I believe he had some different business focus groups, and I was invited. And I literally can see emails because everyone wants to know, hey, what happened to Good News Schools? Can you please bring it back? What's going on? And we want to find out about it. But because at the time I was a one woman show, it was a lot. And I was a full time life insurance agent and working full time as an educator. So it was a lot going on. And I said, oh man, I'm going to have to put the magazine to the back. But giving you that backstory because it relates to networking and how I got ended up, how I ended up here at MiamiDade Economic Advocacy Trust, um, because of networking, because of alignment, because of intention, and sometimes things are unfolding for us and we have to show up. So I'm the new business expansion specialist. I'm still, it's very new. Thank you. It's 90 days. I am one of the newest kids on the block and I like it. I like learning. I like every day the impact that this agency is making is becoming clearer and clearer to me, and I see it in the eyes of the businesses when we go do our workshops, when we go, and interact and engage in the community. We actually see people's business change. Their legacies are being chiseled
Hmm.
because of the contributions that we're making. So I love that I have the opportunity to be here, and I actually I like to look at it like I'm getting paid to network in this business, because if I'm not making connections for the businesses who are applying for the grant, to the community business owners who just want to connect with us, what are we doing? What are we doing if we're not networking? The net worth is real. So that's a little bit about me at MD, and with all the educational resources that I'm seeing, it's also making a huge impression on me as a business owner. And I'm realizing, you need to tighten up. There's too many resources in the county for us, especially women of color, black women, for us not to be, creating the tables and
It's true.
collecting the checks.
Creating the tables, collecting the checks, making the action steps, building out these partnerships, being really strong in the collaborative. And some of the things that you guys were talking about have really resonated. Gasline, you've been in business for quite a while, and you were saying, man, I didn't even qualify for some of these federal dollars that were coming through as a result of COVID relief. And understanding that there were some gaps there, but I know that you advocated on behalf and said, what happens to people who are independent contractors, who have independent contractors instead of having W-2s, and really asking the real questions. Are we helping all of the small businesses or select small businesses? And so I think along those lines, this leads us to um, the main reason why I wanted to get us here together is to talk about the small business grant, because MD is really good at sending out resources. Some of those resources are dollars that are infused into businesses, but oftentimes you have certain criteria that you need to meet. That criteria being that you have to be a business 2 years out. And Gasline used her voice, being at the table, knowing the folks, using the power of her connection and the relationships to ask the real question and say, and give a challenge. Will you step up and do something? So, Gasline, you want to talk a little bit more about that?
Yes. So I remember South Dade Connections, and I don't even know how I got the emails. That's another thing about me. I started checking my emails after COVID, right? So I'm in places I don't even supposed to be in. I'm in Texas and all this extra curriculum. But anyway, so with South Dade Connection, which is in Homestead, I somehow got the email, registered for an event, and I remember it raining so bad that it was canceled. But the next event they had, I was there, and I met Mr. Parson at that time. And they was talking about this grant, and I'm like, oh my gosh, here we go again. I don't qualify. Golly, why I got to be 3 years? So at that moment, I started. Every time I seen him in every event, that's my conversation. That's the only thing I want to have a conversation with him. When you gonna start this thing? But it'd be like, how you doing? You good? Okay, so what we doing? So eventually he's like, you know what? I hear you. So now they went to their second round, missing out again. I'm like, I keep missing out on these. I said, God, I understand it ain't my time yet. You just got to be patient. So me not knowing, he heard my cry and said, I'm going to be working behind the scenes. She doesn't even know. So recently I see him again, and he goes, "Guess what? I got good news for you. Well, we're creating something for businesses who just starting from 6 months to 2 years. It's not much, but it's something to get you started." I said, "Hey, it's better than nothing." And I'm gonna be like the dope boy. I'm sorry to say this, but the dope boys, you know how they do. They get they work, they flip it, and guess what? Multiply. We got to be strategic. And with all this stuff and training I've been taking from MiamiDade Chamber of Commerce, from Mr. Danilo with his resources, FIU Incubator, FIU Local, who else? Branches, SBX, Hot Cough, Eminio Media, which is Orlando, Miami Bayside Foundation, so many resources here. There's no excuses. We as Black women or businesses in general can keep continuing making these excuses. If you want it, you got to go out there and get it. You got to be hungry. You got to be persistent, consistent. You know what I'm saying? And for me, that's what it was. So people like, but you going to all these events, you're not getting nothing from it. You may think I'm not getting nothing from it. Knowledge. It helped me to write my business plans better. So I'm ready to submit my application. But just to be on the safe side for my extra point, guess what I'm doing? I'm having my MiamiDade Chamber, because I'm a member of the MiamiDade Chamber. I'm part of the membership committee and the health committee. So I'm going to have my counselor, Mr. Matthew, review my application, make sure that it's correct and ready to submit, even though I have the confidence to submit it, but that's a part of the requirements. Some people not even going to read the application thorough. They're just going to submit it because they're so ready to get the money. And this is where we're messing up at. We're so ready for like the grant. We don't take opportunity to actually read the application thoroughly. And then this is where you miss out on your points, which is the application is so detailed. And that's what I love. And it's simple, less than 2 minutes to fill out. You know, you just got to get your requirements together. That might take a little time, but still, if you are together, meaning your back office, there's no way you can fail. And for me, ain't no failing. Even my pastor says it. It's the year of expansion, both corporately and individually, for we are in our Rehoboth season. And I'm getting mine. No more missing out on any other opportunity. And I'm getting that MB grant. That I know for sure.
I love that, Gasline. Latoya, why don't you talk a little bit about your role in the new MD Business and Education Grant?
Well, so I'm hearing about the new grant, and I came in right in on the tail of us, of the evaluators, tallying the points for our capitalization grant, where we give away $10,000 to businesses here in Miami-Dade County. That's our Starship annual grant that everyone knows us for. And so coming in on the tail end of that, and then I'm hearing about the new grant, and I'm like, oh, I'm excited. Like, what's it all about? Not knowing it's new, like off the Gasline's lips to the press new, right? And so I'm in the office. They like, hey, we need an application. I was like, oh, okay. I guess I'm okay. I'm gonna do it. So I'm there sitting like, I don't know what to do. And of course, AI is one of my digital assistants, right? And so I go to the computer and I'm like, create a rubric and a criteria, for a small business grant for $2,500. Make sure the criteria are appealing to millennial business owners, Black millennial business owners, as well as other business owners here in Miami-Dade County. Boom, it spits out all these, things. I send it over to Mr. Parson so we can, sift through it, figure out what we need to do. Because the one thing that we didn't want the application to be intimidating. Because as a new business, it can be overwhelming. And then when you get applications that, have legalese and all these other languages and forms and pages after page, you're like, man, forget it. And then you're giving up based on, something that you could easily have, executed. So I was like, no, we got to take time to make sure it's a rubric within the application. It's made plain within that rubric. We're asking the question, did you do X, Y, and Z? Like we're being very intentional. So I had fun with that. It was a little nerve wracking at first because it's like, oh my goodness, I have to produce this document for the whole entire county. What? And so it was a little scary, but fun at the same time, to see that I know that the process is going to be easier for those people that are looking to get the grant. However, we do have a few applicants who have already submitted applications that were not to par. And I'm like, man, please reach out to our technical assistant partners. And so as we're developing the grant, I'm like, you know what? We can expand our service and education offerings if we partner with strategic, people in the community who we already have established relationships with. And so we just met Miss Kwamara at the Black Professional Network pitch event. And, it was well attended. The crowd was diverse with age, ethnicity. It was, it was going on. It was all that. And I talked to Mr. Parson. I was like, with the new startup grant, maybe we can expand some of the service offerings that have come along with the grant. Because initially it was going to be that each grant recipient receives the MiamiDade Chamber membership. And I was like, that's great. But wait. What about South Day Connections? Wait. What about Black Professional Network? Wait. Before the ink dries, what about Tech LLC? Can we bring this community together to present to the businesses here in Miami-Dade County? So it was so fun seeing the different pieces of the puzzle come into play, and that's what I mean by networking at work.
Yep.
You have to network with the community that you serve in mind. Like, how is this going to be easier? How is this going to benefit the businesses in our community more? And so, as a business expansion specialist, this is what I'm thinking, like outside of the box. And I also wanted to make it digital, but things, in my head it works, but in county protocol it may not work. So I'm learning that as well. But best believe next year we're looking to have things available online where you can submit digitally and just make it more streamlined, and be in line, and help our businesses go from here to here. If we have a higher expectation of you in the application, then you can kind of understand that we have a higher expectation of you in our community. We need you to step up to the plate, but not just from a point of view of observation and a recommendation, but from the point of view of we're holding your hand.
Mm.
We're going to give you some accountability. We're going to connect you with, the different technical assistance agencies that are out here: Miami Foundation, South Day Connections, MiamiDade Chamber, and all these partners who are coming up. We have Hot Academy Fashion Incubator who stepped up to the plate. What is a fashion incubator for businesses who are into beauty and fashion? She's
Mm.
holding an incubator for them. And she said she reached out to us and said, hey, I would love to be a technical assistant partner, helping the community fill out the application, go line by line before they submit. Isn't that's
That's
awesome?
that's beautiful. That's a beautiful.
So that's been the unfolding of the new grant that we have on the table.
And what I've loved about this grant, because the story is just so remarkable, and it's going to be impactful, right? I mean, right now it's $2,500. To how many grantees are you guys looking to serve this?
Um, we're looking to do 20 to 25 applicants or recipients. We're looking for some extra dollars may have come into play. So we're going to be able to award more businesses. And with that, and with the workshops that we've set up in the North and in the South, having the community come out and to experience, like, these were actually mini master classes. I can't even call it a workshop
Yeah.
because the
It was
presenters put in the work.
It was amazing, yes. And you were one of them, Kumara. Oh my gosh. It was so amazing. From day one I met you, like the knowledge you have. And I met you through Mike Speaks.
Yeah.
And then from there, I remember seeing the pitch. I got an email about that. And I said, I'm signing up, not even knowing that it's your event, actually. It just said Founders Live. And I said, you know what? I need to master my pitch because I put myself out there last year with, or the 2021, late 2021 with Bank of America through FIU. And boy, I didn't have my financials together. So I couldn't tell the projection story. And
Mm.
so that was what motivated me to say, you know what? I need to learn. So let me come out here to this tech talk and check it out and see what it's about, not knowing you was the one hosting it. And it was like Toya said, the diverse community, the people engaging with one another. Heck, we didn't even want to leave afterwards. We were still engaging, exchanging phone numbers with one another. I met people that I need to connect with. So it was amazing. And I thank you and appreciate you for that. I thank Latoya for her knowledge as well with the chat GPT. It's amazing. And if women can, like I said, learn to get together and network and provide information and be resourceful to one another, we all can grow and succeed.
Right. And I think the proof is in the pudding when you think about it, what just happened here. So we're just starting off small, $2,500 to 25 businesses potentially. That's $50,000 cash infusion back into the community. And as successful as that's going to be, what's the beauty around it is all of the extra resources, like you said, the workshops that we had, which are really, I agree with you, master classes, and the idea that even if a community member doesn't receive the money, they just received millions of dollars worth of free knowledge just by showing up to get some information around the grants. The people saying, hey, I can help. I want to help. I want to use me, right? Come in and use me. You said the young lady with the fashion incubator. I mean, that's amazing when we step up and we say, we see a need. We're going to ask for some help, ask for some solutions. And if no one has those for us, what can we do to be a part of the solution to help solve the problem that we are out here really trying to ensure that as a community, we come together and succeed. This is always about, I say this a lot, creating economic ecosystems of collaboration and cooperation. When we do not have crabs in a barrel mentality, and we understand that we do not have to have a scarcity mindset, that we need to have an abundant mindset, amazing things happen. This is just the start. This is just the start. I think that Miami has the potential to be a model for how this can be across the nation and hopefully, of course, the entire African global diaspora. Before I go, and this has been amazing. I think we can talk for like another hour, 2 hours, 3 hours, but we won't do it this time. Where can people find you after we leave from them watching us?
Well, for me to start, you can find me on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook at Threaded by Lavish or Lavish Touches Hair. You can find me on Google, read my reviews. Threaded by Lavish, Lavish Touches Hair. You can find me on LinkedIn, Threaded by Lavish. YouTube, if you want to learn how to do hair. Watch my videos, see what I'm all about. Threaded by Lavish Touches. There you go.
Threaded by Lavish Touches. There we go. Latoya.
Listen, because Gasline is so great, I'm going to allow her to tell a little bit about our social media and where they can find us on social media. Because I think, like I said, I'm new, but I think Gasline knows more
I got
than me.
I got you. So you can follow MD, MiamiDade, Advocacy, Economic Trust on MBeat on Instagram and on Facebook. And you can also find them on YouTube. They got channels where you can watch videos of past participants. And also you can find them on Google.
See, I knew that was an easy like connect. She's down to network for wherever her heart and her passion is. Thank you so much, Gasline. And if you want to connect with me directly, my office number is 305-375-5649, or you can reach me via email, Latoya, LATOYA .bird, BYRD, at miamidade.gov.
Awesome, awesome. And I will also put all of this information in the show notes, but I just popped this in here really quickly so we could get to Latoya. But this will also be in the show notes, all of the links, all of the additional resources that we talked about today, because we want to be knowledge sharers and knowledge deliverers. There's so much knowledge going around here in Miami-Dade County. And of course, I think the resources are certainly open and available to folks just in general who are looking to figure out, how do I become certified to work with the county? How do I think about starting my business? How do I build my team? How do I market myself? All of the things that it means to be a successful and sustainable and growing business out here. As we know, one of the reasons why we are so interested in ensuring that entrepreneurs are doing the best that they can do is that they are the bread, butter, the backbone of the American economy. We also know that's one of the major ways to create generational wealth. So entrepreneurship is super important to the mainstay of what we are doing when we're thinking about ensuring that people are living the best quality lives that they can for themselves, their family, and the community. Latoya, Gasline, thank you both so much for being here. Until next time, we'll see you later. Peace.
Thank you.
Thank you so much for having me. Have a great day, everyone.